Humanity had waited for this moment for decades. The scientists, explorers, and leaders of Earth had long prepared for the day when intelligent life from another world would make itself known. For years, deep space signals had been monitored and recorded, but nothing had indicated a threat or a greeting. Most messages were random bursts of energy or interference, and people often dismissed them as cosmic noise. Yet beneath the ordinary, there had always been hope. Hope that humanity was not alone, and hope that if aliens existed, they could be friendly or at least curious enough to communicate. The council chambers on Earth were tense that morning. Every member knew that the Titan-class warship, humanity's most powerful vessel, was stationed in orbit and ready for deployment. The ship was a marvel of engineering, built to withstand threats beyond anything the human race had ever faced. It had weapons capable of neutralizing an entire fleet, shields that could deflect attacks faster than the speed of light, and technology that allowed it to travel farther and faster than any other ship in history. Yet as impressive as the ship was, the real question was not how strong it was, but what kind of intelligence it would face. Inside the warship, the crew prepared for a mission that could change history. The captain, a disciplined and experienced leader, walked along the bridge inspecting the crew. Every officer knew their role. Pilots tested their flight simulators, engineers checked every system and sensor, and scientists prepared communication devices. There was a quiet tension that ran through the ship, a mixture of fear, excitement, and anticipation. Every member of the crew had trained for this, yet the unknown was always more intimidating than any exercise or simulation. As the warship orbited the edge of the solar system, strange readings appeared on the sensors. At first they were small anomalies, brief flashes that could have been caused by cosmic radiation or solar flares. But the flashes became patterns. The sensors recorded energy bursts that had structure, intelligence behind them. The communications team tried to decode the signals, but the patterns were unlike anything humanity had seen. It was clear that something large and purposeful was moving toward the solar system, something that might not belong to any human technology. The captain gathered the crew for a briefing. On the screen, the readings glowed like a heartbeat in the darkness of space. The scientist explained that the energy signature was massive and moving at incredible speed. It was bigger than any asteroid, faster than any ship humanity had built, and its trajectory indicated that it was deliberately approaching the inner planets. The council had feared a signal, but this was more than a signal. This was a presence. Back on Earth, the council debated what to do. Some members wanted to send a diplomatic message immediately, hoping to show intelligence and peaceful intent. Others argued for full military readiness, insisting that the aliens could be hostile and that any delay could be fatal. The debate went on for hours, but in the end, they decided to rely on the Titan-class warship. The council concluded that the warship's mission was both exploration and defense. If the aliens were peaceful, humanity could demonstrate intelligence and willingness to communicate. If they were hostile, the ship could act without risking major population centers on Earth. Meanwhile, the crew of the warship continued their preparations. Engineers fine-tuned the shields, tested the energy weapons, and recalibrated the sensors. The scientists worked tirelessly, running simulations and creating potential communication methods, from sound patterns to light signals. They considered every possibility, from friendly gestures to warnings that would show humanity's strength. The pilots trained for maneuvers in zero gravity, practicing responses to attacks that had never occurred before. The tension on the ship was palpable, yet there was also a sense of unity. Everyone understood that this mission was larger than any one person, larger than any nation. Days passed as the mysterious energy signature drew closer. The crew observed it moving through the void, sometimes slowing, sometimes accelerating as if testing the human defenses. The council received updates, and on Earth, people watched the news with growing anxiety. Scientists speculated about the nature of the approaching craft. Was it a single ship or a fleet? Were they explorers, scouts, or conquerors? The unknown weighed heavily on everyone. Humanity had prepared for war and peace, but the reality of facing another intelligence was different from imagining it. Inside the warship, small incidents reminded the crew of their humanity. The communications officer worried about sending the wrong signal and accidentally provoking an attack. The engineer, a quiet and thoughtful person, checked the energy systems repeatedly, ensuring that everything worked perfectly. The captain paced the bridge, feeling the weight of responsibility for thousands of lives not just aboard the ship but on Earth itself. Even in the midst of advanced technology, the human heart remained vulnerable to fear and doubt. The alien energy signature grew stronger. Instruments on the warship detected subtle changes in radiation patterns and electromagnetic pulses. The ship's AI tried to predict movements, but the behavior of the object did not match anything in known databases. It appeared intelligent, deliberate, and cautious. For the first time, the crew realized that these aliens were watching them as carefully as they were watching the aliens. There was no need for weapons yet, but the tension was undeniable. Humanity was being observed, and every decision could have consequences. One night, as Earth rotated far below, the captain stood alone on the observation deck. Through the glass, the blackness of space stretched endlessly, punctuated by distant stars. The energy signature was a faint glow on the instruments, a mystery that was drawing closer by the hour. The captain thought about the journey that had brought humanity here, from early space explorers who first walked on the moon, to the scientists who had decoded signals from distant planets. Now in the cold vacuum of space, humanity faced a test that could define its place in the universe. The crew remained vigilant. Sleep cycles were monitored, exercises continued, and the scientists developed strategies for every scenario. The pilots practiced formations that could protect the ship while allowing communication. The engineers ensured that even if systems failed, backup measures could maintain life and defense capabilities. The warship was more than a machine. It was a floating fortress, a symbol of human ingenuity and determination. Then, finally, a breakthrough occurred. The scientists detected a pattern within the energy signals that suggested awareness. It was a sequence that repeated with a level of complexity that could not be random. They shared their findings with the captain and the council. There was no doubt anymore. This was not a natural phenomenon, not an asteroid or debris, but a craft or presence with intelligence far beyond human understanding. Humanity was about to meet life from another world. The council on Earth reacted with a mixture of fear and awe. Meetings ran late into the night as they debated how to respond, whether to attempt first contact or simply observe. Some council members were paralyzed by the implications, imagining war or catastrophe. Others were filled with hope, seeing an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to join a larger cosmic community. The debate highlighted both the fear and ambition that drove humanity. On the Titan-class warship, the crew prepared for the moment of truth. Communication protocols were finalized, weapons were on standby, and every system was checked again. The captain addressed the crew, speaking calmly but firmly. "We have trained for this moment our entire lives. We do not know what we will face, but we will act with intelligence, courage, and caution. Humanity is watching, and our actions today will define us for generations." As the warship moved closer to the energy signature, the lights of the alien presence grew brighter on the instruments. The patterns pulsed in rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, and the ship's AI confirmed that it was tracking their movements. The crew held their breath, knowing that history was about to be made. Humanity had waited decades for this encounter, and now it could not be ignored. The unknown loomed before them, vast and mysterious, and the decisions made in the coming hours could shape the destiny of an entire species. The calm before the storm had ended. Humanity, represented by the Titan-class warship and its crew, was ready to face the first contact. Fear, anticipation, hope, and courage all mixed together as the ship advanced toward the unknown. Every person aboard felt the weight of history on their shoulders, and yet there was a quiet determination. The universe was opening its doors, and humanity was taking its first cautious steps through them. The energy signature continued to grow stronger as the Titan-class warship moved closer. Every instrument aboard the ship picked up more details, yet the readings only created more questions. The alien presence was unlike anything humanity had seen before. It did not move like a traditional spaceship, nor did it behave like any natural phenomenon. Its movements were deliberate, almost cautious, as if it was testing the warship. The crew felt a mixture of awe and fear. Each pulse of energy from the alien craft made the ship vibrate subtly, reminding everyone that they were no longer in control of their environment. The captain called the senior officers to the bridge. The scientists presented their latest analysis, showing that the energy signature was intelligent and capable of responding to stimuli. The patterns changed when the warship adjusted its position, suggesting that the alien presence was observing and reacting to their actions. The communication officer tried sending coded pulses of light, a universal signal for intelligence, but the alien did not respond in a way humans could immediately understand. It was clear that the encounter would not be simple. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Council followed every update. News agencies reported strange readings and rising tension in the space defense offices, though the public did not fully understand the gravity of the situation. Leaders debated constantly, weighing the risks of acting too aggressively or waiting too long. Some feared that showing hesitation might be interpreted as weakness, while others warned that a hostile response could trigger war. Anxiety ran high. Every council member understood that humanity had never faced anything like this, and the unknown was frightening. Inside the warship, the crew worked tirelessly. Engineers monitored the shields and weapon systems, ensuring they could respond instantly to any threat. Pilots practiced complex maneuvers in zero gravity, anticipating sudden movements by the alien craft. Scientists developed new ways to interpret the energy patterns, trying to find meaning or an attempt at communication. Every member of the crew felt the pressure of responsibility, knowing that their decisions could affect not only themselves but the entire planet. The alien energy signature changed again, moving closer to the warship. It released a series of pulses that created a shimmering pattern in space. The crew stared at the displays, trying to decode the rhythm. The captain ordered a slow advance, maintaining a cautious distance while observing every reaction. The warship's sensors picked up faint traces of matter around the alien presence, but it seemed intangible and flexible, shifting shapes as it moved. Some officers whispered that it looked almost alive, not mechanical, not organic, but something in between. As the warship approached, the communication team attempted more advanced signals. They used patterns of sound and light combined, hoping to create a message that could indicate peaceful intent. Hours passed, and the alien presence responded in small ways. Its energy pulses synchronized briefly with the ship's signals, then separated again. The scientists on board felt a surge of hope. This was the first indication that the aliens might understand humans, even if only partially. The captain reminded everyone to remain patient, as understanding a completely foreign intelligence would take time. The tension aboard the warship was constant. Crew members worked in shifts, monitoring systems and analyzing signals. Sleep was difficult, as every movement or change in the alien pattern drew attention. Engineers double-checked their calculations, ensuring that the ship could survive even unexpected attacks. Pilots rehearsed defensive formations, and the captain reviewed every possible scenario. Despite advanced training and technology, the unknown nature of the aliens made fear unavoidable. Yet there was also determination. Humanity had reached this moment, and retreat was not an option. Suddenly, the alien presence moved faster than expected. Its shape elongated, and it sent a series of pulses directly at the warship. The sensors detected a strong electromagnetic field, enough to interfere with the ship's systems temporarily. Alarms rang, lights flickered, and the bridge was filled with the low hum of energy surges. The captain remained calm, instructing engineers to stabilize the shields and recalibrate the sensors. Every crew member felt the intensity of the encounter, but the captain's composure reassured them. This was a test, and they had to respond with intelligence and patience rather than fear. The scientists aboard the warship worked quickly, analyzing the pulses. They noticed that the alien energy pattern was not random aggression. Instead, it seemed like observation, an assessment of the warship's capabilities. The pulses were precise, designed to gauge the ship's strength and reaction. The crew realized that the alien presence was curious, evaluating humanity before deciding on further action. This understanding brought relief, but it also raised new questions. Why were the aliens so advanced? How did they perceive humans? What did they want? Back on Earth, the Council monitored every development with growing anxiety. Analysts debated whether to intervene or continue observation. Some suggested sending messages to warn the alien presence of humanity's defensive readiness. Others argued that the humans aboard the warship should maintain strict restraint, as any aggressive move might trigger a response they could not predict. The Council struggled to balance fear with hope, understanding that the encounter could change humanity forever. As the alien presence hovered near the warship, small lights appeared along its surface, flickering in patterns that resembled intelligence. The crew hypothesized that these lights were a form of communication or scanning. The communication officer suggested responding with mirrored patterns, a simple reflection of the pulses. The captain approved, and the crew carefully transmitted signals designed to indicate awareness, intelligence, and peaceful intent. The ship vibrated slightly as the pulses traveled through space, a reminder that even small actions could carry great significance. Hours turned into a day, and the alien presence remained nearby. It moved slowly, almost cautiously, around the warship. Its energy patterns were complex, and the scientists struggled to interpret them fully. Every attempt at understanding brought small insights, revealing that the aliens might value intelligence, observation, and patience over aggression. The crew felt a mix of relief and nervous anticipation. They were witnessing the first encounter of its kind, an exchange of signals and intentions that could define humanity's future. During a quiet moment on the bridge, the captain observed the crew working. Everyone was focused, their eyes on displays, hands on controls, minds racing with calculations and interpretations. The captain understood the importance of patience, of keeping the crew calm and coordinated. Every action taken in the next hours would matter. Humanity's first impression on an alien civilization was at stake, and it had to be measured, intelligent, and careful. The alien presence made another subtle movement, sending pulses that seemed to scan specific parts of the warship. The sensors detected changes in energy levels, shifts in magnetic fields, and faint structural vibrations. It was clear that the aliens were learning, observing, and possibly judging. The captain ordered the crew to maintain position and continue sending reflective signals. They needed to show awareness, intelligence, and restraint. Any mistake could be dangerous, but the captain trusted the crew's training and judgment. As the day ended in orbit above the solar system, the alien presence had not attacked. Instead, it remained nearby, studying the warship and its crew. The scientists noted that its energy patterns had begun to stabilize, suggesting recognition of the human presence. The communication officer speculated that this was a form of acknowledgement, a sign that the aliens were curious rather than hostile. The crew allowed themselves a moment of cautious optimism, knowing that patience had brought them to this point. Back on Earth, the Council acknowledged the progress. Reports indicated that the encounter was developing into a measured exchange, rather than immediate conflict. Some members expressed relief while others remained wary, understanding that the alien intelligence could act unpredictably at any moment. The balance between hope and fear remained delicate. Humanity had reached a critical threshold, and every decision, every signal, every movement could influence the outcome. Throughout the night, the warship remained vigilant. The crew rotated shifts, ensuring constant monitoring of the alien presence. Engineers double-checked every system, pilots prepared emergency maneuvers, and scientists continued analyzing patterns. The captain stood on the bridge, observing the alien energy pulses on the screens. It was a dance of intelligence and patience, a first encounter that demanded both courage and restraint. By the end of the second day, the alien presence had not shown aggression, but it had not made direct communication either. The crew realized that the aliens were intelligent, deliberate, and cautious. They seemed to be observing humanity carefully, perhaps judging their intentions and capabilities. The captain reminded the crew that this was exactly why restraint was necessary. Rushing to act could jeopardize the delicate balance of the encounter. The crew settled into a rhythm of observation, communication attempts, and system monitoring. Every small reaction from the alien presence was analyzed, interpreted, and discussed. Slowly, humanity began to understand that this encounter was a dialogue of intelligence, patience, and observation. The alien presence had its own way of communicating, its own logic and intentions, and the crew had to adapt and respond with care. By the end of the second day, the first signs of understanding had begun to emerge. Small patterns mirrored by the alien pulses indicated recognition of the warship's presence. Humanity had survived the initial contact, not through force but through caution, intelligence, and patience. The captain and the crew knew that this was only the beginning. The alien presence remained a mystery, vast and complex, but for the first time, humanity had made a small step in bridging the gap between worlds. The Titan-class warship hovered in the blackness of space, its hull glinting under the distant light of stars. The alien presence was close, its energy pulses casting a faint glow on the sensors. The crew had grown accustomed to its patterns, but the mystery remained. Every pulse seemed to carry intelligence, observation, and something they could not fully understand. The captain stood on the bridge, watching the displays and feeling the weight of responsibility. This encounter could decide the fate of humanity's first contact with an advanced species, and every decision mattered. The communication officer suggested a new approach, a combination of mirrored pulses and subtle changes in frequency. The scientists worked quickly to implement the plan. They hoped that by showing adaptability, humanity could indicate intelligence and peaceful intent. The alien presence responded almost immediately, its pulses shifting in ways that suggested attention. For the first time, there was a sense of engagement rather than mere observation. The crew felt a cautious excitement, knowing that their attempts at communication were being noticed. The pilots continued to practice defensive maneuvers, but their attention remained divided between flying the ship and monitoring the alien patterns. Every shift in the energy signature could indicate curiosity, assessment, or something else entirely. The crew worked tirelessly, analyzing every pulse, every vibration, every subtle change in the alien presence. Sleep was brief and tension was high, but everyone understood the importance of their role. Humanity had waited decades for this moment, and now that it was here, they could not falter. On Earth, the Council received updates in real time. The images from the warship's sensors showed shifting energy patterns, glowing pulses, and the faint outline of the alien presence. Analysts debated whether the signals indicated aggression, curiosity, or intelligence. Some feared the worst, imagining that humanity might provoke a hostile response by acting incorrectly. Others argued that the measured actions of the warship suggested careful observation and a desire to communicate. The Council realized that every move could influence the outcome, and the pressure was immense. Inside the warship, the alien presence changed again. Its pulses became more structured, forming sequences that suggested intention. The scientists hypothesized that it was testing the crew, evaluating their reactions to subtle shifts in energy and movement. The captain ordered the team to remain steady and continue transmitting patterns designed to reflect awareness and intelligence. The warship responded with precision, each pulse calculated to convey thought, caution, and curiosity. Hours passed, and the alien presence moved closer, its energy field brushing against the outer sensors of the warship. The instruments recorded minor fluctuations in the hull's magnetic field, creating a low hum throughout the ship. Engineers worked quickly to stabilize the systems, adjusting shields and recalibrating sensors. The pilots adjusted the ship's trajectory slightly, ensuring that it remained in a safe position while still engaging with the alien presence. The captain reminded the crew to stay focused and calm, knowing that any rash action could have serious consequences. The scientists observed subtle changes in the alien energy signature. Certain sequences repeated in a rhythm that suggested observation, learning, and recognition. The crew realized that the alien presence was not merely reacting. It was assessing humanity, evaluating the ship, the crew, and their intentions. The captain understood that this was a pivotal moment. Humanity had to demonstrate intelligence, restraint, and adaptability. Any aggressive action could be misinterpreted, but a lack of response could be seen as weakness. Communication attempts became more complex. The crew combined pulses of light, sound, and electromagnetic signals, creating patterns that were designed to be understood as non-threatening. The alien presence responded in kind, though its signals remained difficult to interpret. The scientists theorized that the aliens had their own form of intelligence and logic, unlike anything humans had experienced. Patience was crucial, and the captain enforced strict discipline to ensure that every action was deliberate and calculated. The warship's sensors detected movement along the edges of the alien presence. Faint outlines suggested that it was scanning the ship, analyzing materials and observing technology. The crew marveled at the complexity, realizing that the alien presence was highly intelligent and capable of sophisticated analysis. The communication officer suggested sending a mirrored signal to show acknowledgement of the scan. The captain approved, and the crew transmitted the pulses carefully, ensuring that the message indicated recognition without aggression. On Earth, the Council remained tense. Reports indicated that the encounter was ongoing, but there was no indication of hostility. Analysts debated whether the alien presence might leave or whether it intended to maintain contact. Some members expressed concern that any sudden move by the warship could trigger a dangerous response. Others argued that humanity had demonstrated patience and intelligence, and that the aliens might respect this approach. The debate highlighted the uncertainty and complexity of interstellar contact. The alien presence made a sudden, subtle movement, shifting closer to the warship. Its pulses became more complex, almost like a rhythm. The crew interpreted this as a sign of heightened interest. Scientists speculated that the aliens were trying to communicate, though in a way that humans could not fully understand. The captain ordered the crew to continue transmitting reflective signals, showing awareness and intelligence. The ship hummed with energy as the pulses traveled across space, bridging the gap between species. The pilots prepared for unexpected maneuvers, adjusting shields and propulsion systems in case of sudden changes. Engineers monitored every system, ensuring stability despite the fluctuations caused by the alien presence. The captain remained calm, issuing orders clearly and maintaining focus. Every crew member understood that this encounter could define humanity's first impression on an advanced civilization. Fear was present, but it was tempered by discipline, training, and a sense of duty. Hours stretched into a day. The alien presence hovered near the warship, maintaining a cautious distance. Its energy pulses formed sequences that repeated with subtle variations, suggesting observation and recognition. The scientists noted patterns that seemed to mirror the warship's transmissions. For the first time, there was a sense that communication was possible, even if limited. Humanity had not yet made contact in a traditional sense, but an exchange of intelligence and awareness was underway. The captain called a meeting on the bridge. The senior officers gathered around a holographic display showing the alien presence and the warship's signals. Discussions focused on interpretation of the patterns, possible next steps, and strategies for continued engagement. The crew debated whether to increase the complexity of their signals or maintain a simple reflective approach. The decision was made to continue with cautious reflection, showing intelligence, restraint, and observation. The alien presence responded again, its pulses forming intricate sequences that suggested analysis. The crew realized that the aliens were capable of learning from their actions, adapting their responses, and assessing the warship's capabilities. The scientists were excited and cautious at the same time. They understood that this was more than observation. It was a test of intelligence, patience, and decision-making. The captain reminded the crew to maintain calm and focus, knowing that the stakes were unprecedented. Throughout the day, the crew observed subtle shifts in the alien energy field. It was clear that the presence was aware of every adjustment, every signal, and every movement. The warship responded carefully, transmitting patterns designed to indicate thought, caution, and intelligence. The crew worked in perfect coordination, understanding that their actions represented humanity as a whole. Fear remained, but it was tempered by discipline and the knowledge that restraint and patience were essential. On Earth, the Council continued to monitor the encounter. Analysts debated the meaning of the alien signals, trying to interpret the rhythms and patterns. Some members feared that any misstep could trigger aggression. Others believed that the aliens were studying humanity and would respect intelligence and patience. The Council understood that this encounter could define humanity's role in the galaxy, and the tension was palpable. As night fell across Earth, the alien presence continued to hover near the warship. Its energy pulses had grown more complex and structured, indicating continued observation and analysis. The scientists aboard the ship noted that the patterns were beginning to show signs of recognition, suggesting that the aliens understood the warship as a vessel piloted by intelligent beings. The captain reminded the crew to maintain discipline, patience, and careful observation. Knowing that this encounter was delicate and unprecedented, the crew settled into a rhythm of observation, communication, and system monitoring. Every pulse from the alien presence was analyzed, interpreted, and recorded. The pilots adjusted positions, the engineers maintained stability, and the scientists refined their communication methods. The captain oversaw every action, ensuring that the ship moved with purpose and caution. Humanity survived the initial encounter, and the first steps toward understanding had begun. By the end of the third day, small signs of mutual recognition were clear. The alien presence continued to hover, its energy pulses reflecting the warship's signals in ways that suggested awareness. The crew felt a mixture of relief, anticipation, and responsibility. Humanity had entered into a cautious dialogue with an advanced intelligence, using signals, observation, and restraint rather than force. The captain knew that the encounter was far from over, but the first steps had been made. The warship remained vigilant, its crew focused on understanding the alien presence. The energy pulses continued to shift, change, and adapt, showing signs of intelligence, observation, and assessment. Humanity had survived the initial encounter not through aggression, but through careful study, patience, and thoughtful response. The bridge was quiet, filled only with the hum of instruments and the anticipation of what would come next. The Titan-class warship continued to hover in the quiet darkness of space, its sensors scanning every movement of the alien presence. The pulses of energy coming from the alien craft had become more complex, almost as if it was sending messages in a language humanity could not yet understand. The crew had grown used to watching and interpreting, but there was still an undercurrent of tension. Every change in the alien energy was examined with care, every flicker of light analyzed for meaning. The captain knew that this encounter required intelligence, patience, and restraint, and he expected nothing less from the crew. Inside the warship, the communication officer worked tirelessly, trying to find patterns in the alien pulses. The signals were unlike anything humans had encountered. They did not follow simple mathematical sequences, nor did they resemble any language. Yet the officer noticed repetition and structure, evidence that the aliens were intelligent and observing every action taken by the ship. The officer proposed a new method of communication, combining light pulses with small variations in frequency to indicate awareness and peaceful intent. The captain approved, understanding that subtlety was key. The scientists were equally engaged, analyzing the alien signals and looking for clues about the craft's technology and intent. Every pulse seemed designed to test the ship, measuring its reaction and assessing the crew's behavior. The scientists speculated that the aliens valued intelligence and observation over aggression, using this method to learn about humanity before deciding on their next move. The engineers monitored the hull and shields closely, ensuring that the ship could withstand unexpected energy surges from the alien presence. Outside the ship, the alien craft moved slowly, maintaining a cautious distance. Its energy pulses flowed rhythmically, as if it was studying the warship and the humans aboard. The captain ordered the ship to maintain position, responding to the pulses with mirrored signals that indicated awareness and intelligence. The crew felt a mix of excitement and fear, knowing that every action could influence the aliens' perception. The warship hummed with energy as systems responded to the alien pulses, and the bridge was filled with the quiet intensity of observation and study. On Earth, the Council monitored the situation closely. Analysts debated the meaning of the alien signals, trying to interpret patterns that might indicate hostility, curiosity, or intelligence. Some feared that any aggressive action could trigger conflict, while others believed that restraint and careful communication were the key to a positive encounter. The Council understood that humanity's first impression mattered, and that the outcome of this encounter could define its future in space. The alien craft made a sudden movement, sending pulses that interacted with the warship's shields. The sensors detected shifts in magnetic fields and subtle vibrations throughout the hull. The crew reacted calmly, adjusting shields and propulsion systems to maintain stability. The captain instructed the team to continue their measured responses, understanding that the aliens were observing not just the ship, but the crew's behavior and decision-making. Every action was a test, and humanity had to respond with intelligence and patience. The communication officer detected a new pattern in the pulses, a repetition that suggested recognition. The officer shared the observation with the captain and the scientists, who analyzed the sequence carefully. They concluded that the alien presence had noticed humanity's efforts to respond with awareness and peaceful intent. The captain reminded the crew to continue transmitting signals carefully, showing adaptability without aggression. This was the moment when patience could pay off, and the crew focused on maintaining calm and precision. As hours passed, the alien presence moved closer, its pulses forming intricate sequences that suggested curiosity and assessment. The scientists theorized that the aliens were studying the ship's technology, energy systems, and the behavior of the humans aboard. The crew marveled at the sophistication, realizing that the aliens were highly intelligent and capable of complex analysis. The captain emphasized the importance of restraint, reminding everyone that a misstep could have serious consequences. The pilots adjusted the ship's trajectory slightly, maintaining a safe distance while allowing the alien presence to continue its observations. Engineers monitored every system, ensuring stability despite fluctuations in energy readings. The scientists continued analyzing the signals, seeking patterns and repetitions that could indicate communication. The captain coordinated all actions, ensuring that the ship responded with discipline and care. Humanity's first contact required both courage and intelligence, and the crew was determined to succeed. Suddenly, the alien presence emitted a series of pulses that seemed to target specific sections of the warship. The sensors detected subtle energy interactions with the hull and systems. The crew realized that this was a deliberate test, an assessment of the ship's capabilities and the humans' reactions. The captain ordered mirrored pulses in response, showing awareness and adaptation. The warship vibrated with energy, and the crew watched the alien signals carefully, noting each change and response. On Earth, the Council observed the live feeds from the warship. Analysts discussed the meaning of the pulses, trying to interpret the alien behavior. Some argued that the aliens were intelligent but cautious, testing humanity's restraint and intelligence. Others warned that any misinterpretation could provoke conflict. The Council understood that this was a unique and dangerous situation, and they debated every decision with care. The alien presence remained close, its energy pulses shifting in response to the warship's signals. The scientists aboard the ship observed patterns that suggested learning and adaptation. The crew realized that the aliens were not merely observing, they were analyzing, interpreting, and responding to humanity's actions. The captain reminded everyone to remain calm and focused, knowing that their behavior was part of the first impression humanity was making. The communication officer developed a new strategy, sending pulses that combined reflection, variation, and subtle modulation. The goal was to show intelligence, awareness, and peaceful intent, without provoking a defensive response. The alien presence responded with sequences that suggested attention and observation. The crew felt a cautious optimism, realizing that the first steps toward understanding were beginning to take shape. Hours turned into a day, and the alien presence continued to hover near the warship. Its energy pulses became more complex, with patterns that suggested recognition and assessment. The scientists analyzed the sequences, noting repetitions and variations that indicated learning. The crew remained vigilant, monitoring systems, adjusting shields, and responding to the alien pulses with careful precision. Humanity's first contact was unfolding, and every action mattered. The captain called a meeting on the bridge to review the observations. Senior officers gathered around the holographic display showing the alien presence and the warship's signals. They discussed patterns, possible interpretations, and strategies for continued engagement. The decision was made to maintain careful reflection and observation, showing intelligence and awareness while avoiding aggression. The crew agreed, understanding that patience and restraint were essential. The alien presence emitted a sudden surge of pulses, interacting with the ship's energy fields. Sensors detected minor vibrations in the hull, and systems responded automatically to stabilize the ship. The crew remained calm, following the captain's instructions to maintain measured responses. Engineers adjusted shields, pilots monitored trajectory, and scientists analyzed the new patterns. The alien presence seemed to be testing the crew's composure, and humanity responded with intelligence and discipline. On Earth, the Council continued to monitor the encounter. Analysts debated the meaning of the new sequences, discussing whether the aliens were signaling curiosity, recognition, or assessment. Some feared that any sudden action could provoke hostility, while others believed that the measured responses of the warship would earn respect. The Council understood that humanity's behavior in this encounter would shape its reputation in the galaxy. Throughout the day, the crew observed subtle shifts in the alien energy field. Its pulses reflected the warship's signals, creating a dialogue of awareness and intelligence. The scientists noted that the sequences were becoming more structured, suggesting that the aliens were learning from humanity's responses. The captain emphasized the importance of maintaining calm, patience, and careful observation. Every action taken now could influence the outcome of the first contact, As night fell across Earth, the alien presence remained near the warship. Its energy pulses formed sequences that suggested recognition, observation, and adaptation. The crew felt a mixture of relief and anticipation, realizing that humanity had survived the initial phase of the encounter. The captain reminded everyone that the challenge was not over, but the first steps toward understanding had been taken. Humanity had responded with intelligence, patience, and restraint, and the alien presence had noticed. The warship continued its careful observation, sending reflective pulses and monitoring every change in the alien energy. Pilots adjusted positions as needed, engineers maintained stability, and scientists refined communication methods. The captain oversaw every action, ensuring that the ship moved with purpose and caution. Humanity's first contact required both courage and careful decision-making, and the crew was determined to succeed. By the end of the fourth day, small signs of mutual recognition were clear. The alien presence continued to hover, its energy pulses reflecting the warship's signals in ways that suggested awareness. The crew felt a mixture of relief, anticipation, and responsibility. Humanity had entered into a cautious dialogue with an advanced intelligence, using signals, observation, and restraint rather than force. The captain knew that the encounter was far from over, but the first steps toward understanding had been made. The crew settled into a routine of observation, communication, and system monitoring. Every pulse from the alien presence was analyzed, interpreted, and recorded. The warship hummed with energy, and the bridge was filled with the quiet intensity of observation and study. Humanity had survived the initial phase not through aggression, but through careful study, patience, and thoughtful response. The encounter had become a test of intelligence, awareness, and restraint, and the crew was prepared for whatever came next. The Titan-class warship remained steady as it hovered near the alien presence. The energy pulses coming from the alien craft had grown more defined, more intricate, and the crew could sense that the intelligence behind them was becoming more aware of their efforts. The captain watched the patterns on the main screen, noting subtle shifts that seemed to indicate curiosity and assessment. For the first time, it appeared that the alien presence was engaging with humanity in a deliberate way, and the crew felt a mixture of excitement and caution. Inside the warship, the communication officer worked quickly to interpret the new sequences. Every pulse, every flicker, every modulation of energy was analyzed and compared to previous signals. The officer noticed that the aliens seemed to mirror some of the ship's responses, though not perfectly. It was a sign that they were learning and adjusting, responding to humanity's behavior in a way that suggested intelligence and awareness. The captain encouraged patience, reminding the crew that understanding a completely alien form of communication would take time. The scientists joined the officer, examining the alien signals for patterns that could indicate intent. They theorized that the aliens were testing the ship's capabilities, assessing both technology and human decision-making. Each pulse seemed deliberate, each energy wave purposeful. The crew realized that the encounter was no longer just observation. It was a cautious dialogue, one that required intelligence, patience, and careful response. Every action could affect the aliens' perception of humanity. Pilots continued to adjust the ship's position, keeping a safe distance while allowing the alien presence to observe and interact. Engineers monitored every system, ensuring stability and efficiency. The warship was fully operational, its shields responsive, its energy systems balanced. The captain coordinated every movement and response, understanding that this was the first time humanity faced an intelligent extraterrestrial presence directly. The tension aboard the ship was high, yet there was also a sense of purpose and unity. The alien presence emitted a series of pulses that interacted with the warship's shields. Sensors recorded minor fluctuations in energy, and the crew interpreted this as another form of assessment. The captain ordered mirrored pulses, showing recognition and intelligence without aggression. The ship vibrated slightly as the energy flowed through the shields and systems, and the crew felt a combination of fear and fascination. Humanity was witnessing an intelligence far beyond anything it had ever encountered, and the stakes were higher than anyone had imagined. On Earth, the Council followed every update from the warship. Analysts debated whether the alien signals indicated curiosity, hostility, or assessment. Some feared that any sudden action could provoke aggression, while others believed that the aliens respected intelligence, patience, and careful observation. The Council understood that humanity's first impression mattered more than ever, and every decision, no matter how small, could shape the outcome of this encounter. The alien presence moved slightly closer to the warship, its pulses forming complex sequences that suggested analysis and attention. The scientists aboard the ship observed subtle repetitions and variations that indicated learning and recognition. The captain instructed the crew to continue transmitting reflective signals, showing awareness, intelligence, and peaceful intent. The crew understood that restraint and careful observation were critical. Every reaction could influence how the aliens perceived humanity. Hours passed with cautious interaction. The alien presence seemed to respond to the ship's signals, creating a back and forth of energy pulses that resembled a conversation without words. The communication officer attempted to introduce small variations, testing whether the aliens could detect and mirror changes. The response was immediate, indicating that the aliens were indeed analyzing and adapting to human behavior. The scientists noted that the patterns were becoming increasingly structured, suggesting recognition and understanding. The pilots maintained precise maneuvers, ensuring that the ship remained in a stable position while allowing the alien presence to interact. Engineers continued to monitor the shield's energy systems and propulsion, making minor adjustments as needed. The captain oversaw every operation, ensuring that the crew acted with intelligence, caution, and discipline. Humanity's first contact was unfolding, and every member of the crew felt the responsibility of representing an entire species. Suddenly, the alien presence emitted a surge of energy pulses that focused on the warship. Sensors detected vibrations in the hull and slight shifts in magnetic fields. The crew realized that this was a deliberate test of response and composure. The captain ordered mirrored pulses and maintained steady shields, demonstrating control, awareness, and intelligence. The alien presence seemed to slow its pulses as if observing the human response with interest. The crew felt a cautious sense of accomplishment, knowing that their measured approach was being recognized. On Earth, the Council watched the live feeds. Analysts debated the meaning of the new energy sequences, discussing whether the aliens were signaling approval, curiosity, or continued assessment. Some feared that any misinterpretation could lead to danger, while others believed that the measured responses of the warship were earning respect. Humanity's reputation as a species capable of intelligence, patience, and restraint was being established in real time. The alien presence remained near the warship, its energy pulses reflecting and interacting with the ship's signals. The scientists noted that the sequences were becoming increasingly patterned, almost like an acknowledgement of the human's presence. The crew understood that this was a positive development, a small but significant sign that the aliens recognized the intelligence and discipline of the crew. The captain reminded everyone to maintain focus and calm, knowing that patience was still essential. The communication officer proposed a new series of pulses, combining reflection with subtle variations to indicate curiosity and intelligence. The captain approved, and the signals were transmitted carefully. The alien presence responded almost immediately, its pulses adjusting to mirror the new sequences. The scientists observed that the patterns had grown more structured, suggesting that the aliens were learning from the humans' responses. The crew felt a cautious optimism, understanding that a form of dialogue was beginning to emerge. The pilots adjusted the warship's trajectory slightly, keeping the alien presence within optimal sensor range while maintaining a safe distance. Engineers monitored energy fields, propulsion, and shields to ensure stability. The captain coordinated every movement, emphasizing discipline, careful observation, and intelligent response. Humanity's first contact required patience, courage, and adaptability, and the crew was determined to meet the challenge. Hours turned into a full day of cautious interaction. The alien presence maintained a close but safe distance, its pulses forming sequences that indicated recognition, observation, and learning. The scientists aboard the ship analyzed every detail, noting repetitions and variations that suggested awareness. The communication officer refined the signals, adjusting patterns to encourage continued interaction. The crew realized that this was more than observation. It was a measured dialogue, an exchange of intelligence between species. The captain called a meeting on the bridge to review the day's progress. Senior officers discussed patterns, signals, and possible interpretations. The decision was made to continue careful reflection, showing intelligence, awareness, and restraint. The crew agreed, understanding that every action was part of humanity's first impression on an advanced civilization. They maintained vigilance, observing every pulse, every fluctuation, and every subtle change in the alien presence. Suddenly, the alien presence moved closer, its pulses intensifying and interacting directly with the warship's shields. The sensors recorded minor vibrations and energy shifts, and the crew interpreted this as another test. The captain instructed the team to respond with mirrored pulses, demonstrating awareness, intelligence, and careful judgment. The warship hummed with energy, and the bridge was filled with a quiet intensity as the crew monitored the alien reactions closely. On Earth, the council remained focused on the encounter. Analysts debated whether the alien behavior indicated curiosity, recognition, or continued assessment. Some feared that any misstep could provoke hostility, while others believed that humanity's disciplined response would earn respect. The council understood that the stakes were higher than ever, and that the outcome of this encounter could influence humanity's future in space. The alien presence hovered near the warship, its energy pulses forming increasingly structured sequences. The scientists noted repetitions that suggested recognition, learning, and understanding. The crew continued to respond with carefully calculated signals, maintaining calm and discipline. The captain emphasized patience, knowing that humanity's first contact was progressing, but still fragile. Every action mattered, and every decision could shape the aliens' perception of humanity. By the end of the 5th day, small signs of mutual understanding had begun to appear. The alien presence had not attacked but instead seemed to observe and engage, responding to human signals in structured, intelligent ways. The crew felt a mixture of relief, excitement, and responsibility. Humanity had survived the initial tests, demonstrating intelligence, patience, and restraint. The captain knew that this encounter was far from over, but the first steps toward trust and recognition had been made. The warship settled into a rhythm of observation, communication, and system monitoring. Every pulse from the alien presence was analyzed and interpreted. Pilots maintained precise positions, engineers ensured stability, and scientists refined signals to encourage continued engagement. Humanity had taken cautious but deliberate steps toward establishing a connection with an advanced intelligence, proving that patience, awareness, and restraint were essential in this historic moment. The crew understood that the encounter was still a test. The alien presence remained a mystery, vast and complex, yet for the first time there was hope. Humanity had responded not with fear, but with intelligence and caution. The warship's crew had demonstrated that humans could act with discipline and reason, even when faced with the unknown. The bridge was quiet, filled with the hum of systems and the anticipation of what would come next. Humanity had survived the first major challenge of interstellar contact and had taken meaningful steps toward understanding an alien intelligence. The Titan-class warship hovered quietly in the vast emptiness of space, the alien presence nearby pulsing with energy that seemed more intentional than ever. For days, the crew had maintained vigilance, sending reflective signals, observing patterns, and analyzing responses. The alien presence had not shown aggression, but it had continued to assess and respond, testing humanity's patience, intelligence, and restraint. The captain knew that the final phase of the encounter was approaching, and every member of the crew felt the weight of history on their shoulders. Inside the warship, the communication officer carefully prepared the next set of signals. These were more deliberate, designed to indicate understanding, adaptability, and intelligence. The goal was not to provoke, but to demonstrate awareness and willingness to engage. The scientists assisted, analyzing the previous responses, looking for any clue that might reveal the alien intentions. Patterns were repeated and mirrored, subtle variations were introduced, and every pulse was timed precisely. The ship's systems hummed as energy flowed through the shields and instruments, amplifying the sense of anticipation on the bridge. The alien presence responded almost immediately. Its pulses became rhythmic, synchronized in ways that suggested recognition of the ship's signals. The scientists observed that the sequences were no longer chaotic but structured, forming patterns that seemed deliberate and intelligent. The crew realized that the aliens had accepted the humans as worthy of attention. It was a breakthrough, a small but significant step in a dialogue that had existed without words. The captain instructed the crew to maintain their course and continue with measured responses. Understanding that patience was still crucial, pilots adjusted the ship's trajectory slightly, keeping the alien presence within optimal sensor range. Engineers monitored shields and energy systems, ready to respond to fluctuations or surges. The captain moved calmly across the bridge, observing every reaction, coordinating the crew's efforts and ensuring discipline and focus. The warship was a symbol of humanity's resolve, intelligence, and courage. Every pulse exchanged with the alien presence carried the weight of an entire species. Yet the crew maintained composure and precision. On Earth, the Council watched the live updates with a mixture of awe and anxiety. Analysts discussed the structured energy pulses, noting how the aliens were responding to human signals with increasing complexity. Some believed that the aliens were testing humanity's intelligence and patience, while others argued that recognition and acknowledgement were now clear. The Council understood that the encounter was entering a critical phase, one that could define humanity's future in the cosmos. The alien presence shifted slightly closer, its pulses forming intricate sequences that danced around the warship's signals. The scientists on board the ship carefully analyzed the changes, noting subtle repetitions and variations that suggested both learning and recognition. It was as if the aliens were sending a message that humanity was now being observed, not just as a curiosity, but as a potential partner or equal in intelligence. The captain instructed the crew to maintain calm and measured responses, understanding that every action still mattered. Hours passed in careful observation and cautious communication. The alien presence seemed to respond more quickly to the warship's signals, its pulses adapting to the human variations with precision. The communication officer noted that the sequences resembled a conversation, a dialogue conducted entirely through energy and rhythm. The crew realized that this was a historic moment, the first meaningful exchange between humanity and an advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. Excitement mixed with tension as the implications of this realization sank in. The alien presence made a sudden movement, sending a surge of energy pulses that swept across the warship's shields. The sensors detected vibrations in the hull, and subtle fluctuations in magnetic fields were recorded. The crew immediately responded with mirrored pulses and stabilized energy shields. The captain instructed the team to continue sending reflective signals, showing awareness, intelligence, and patience. Every pulse, every reaction was now part of a larger dialogue. The crew felt the weight of history, yet they remained disciplined and focused. The scientists observed that the alien sequences were becoming more structured, more deliberate, and more recognizable. There was a clear rhythm that suggested understanding, learning, and engagement. It was as if the aliens had recognized humanity's intelligence and were now responding with acknowledgement. The crew felt a cautious optimism, realizing that this encounter was no longer just observation and testing. It was interaction, a first connection between two intelligent species. On Earth, the Council continued to monitor the encounter. Reports indicated that the alien presence had not attacked, that it was responding to human signals, and that recognition appeared likely. Analysts debated the meaning of the energy sequences, some suggesting that this was the beginning of a diplomatic or peaceful connection. Others remained cautious, reminding the Council that the aliens were still largely unknown. Humanity's patience and careful communication had earned attention, but the outcome remained uncertain. The alien presence moved closer, its pulses now flowing in patterns that mirrored the warship's signals, in a way that suggested deliberate acknowledgement. The communication officer transmitted carefully calculated responses, combining reflection, variation, and modulation to indicate intelligence and peaceful intent. The crew felt a mixture of excitement and relief. Humanity had reached the point where the aliens were not only observing but interacting, responding with intent and recognition. It was a historic breakthrough, one that marked the first true contact. Pilots adjusted the ship's position slightly, ensuring that the alien presence remained within sensor range while maintaining safety. Engineers monitored energy systems, making minor adjustments to account for fluctuations. The captain oversaw every operation, ensuring that the crew remained disciplined, patient, and precise. Every action was calculated to show intelligence and awareness, demonstrating that humanity could respond thoughtfully even when faced with the unknown. The alien presence emitted pulses that seemed almost musical, flowing in sequences that mirrored human signals with subtle variations. The scientists observed these sequences carefully, noting patterns that suggested recognition, understanding, and adaptation. The crew realized that this was more than just acknowledgement. It was a dialogue, a silent conversation conducted entirely through energy. The captain reminded everyone to remain calm and continue measured responses, knowing that patience had brought them this far and that the final steps were crucial. Hours passed with careful interaction. The alien presence maintained a steady distance, its pulses flowing in structured sequences that engaged directly with the warship's signals. The communication officer refined responses, introducing small variations designed to indicate curiosity and intelligence. The scientists analyzed the sequences, noting how the aliens seemed to learn and adapt to human signals. The crew felt a sense of cautious triumph. They had reached a stage where two intelligent species were interacting for the first time. The alien presence made a slow movement closer, sending energy pulses that touched the warship's shields and instruments. The sensors detected subtle vibrations and magnetic fluctuations. The crew responded immediately with mirrored pulses, maintaining calm, discipline, and awareness. The captain emphasized that restraint was essential, and every action should demonstrate intelligence and patience. The aliens seemed to recognize this approach, their energy pulses shifting to reflect observation and acknowledgement rather than aggression. On Earth, the council watched with bated breath. Analysts reported that the aliens were responding to human signals in structured ways, suggesting recognition and learning. Some members expressed relief and excitement, believing that humanity had succeeded in making first contact. Others remained cautious, emphasizing that the encounter was ongoing and that the aliens were still largely unknown. Humanity had survived the initial tests and was now engaged in a cautious dialogue with an advanced intelligence. The alien presence continued to pulse and shift, sending energy sequences that mirrored the warship's signals almost perfectly. The scientists noted that the pattern suggested understanding, learning, and recognition. The crew felt a mixture of relief and awe. Humanity had demonstrated intelligence, patience, and discipline, and the aliens were responding in kind. The captain instructed the crew to maintain careful, reflective signals, continuing the silent conversation while avoiding aggression or rash action. Hours turned into a full day of observation and interaction. The alien presence hovered near the warship, its pulses flowing in intricate sequences that engaged directly with the human signals. The communication officer transmitted responses that were thoughtful, measured, and precise. The pilots maintained optimal positions, and engineers ensured that all systems remained stable. The captain oversaw every action, understanding that this was a historic moment that could define humanity's first impression in the galaxy. By the end of the day, the alien presence had clearly acknowledged humanity. Its pulses reflected understanding, observation, and recognition. The scientists concluded that the encounter had reached a stage where communication, while still limited, was possible. The crew felt a sense of cautious triumph, knowing that they had survived the initial tests and had begun to build a bridge of understanding between species. Humanity had proven intelligence, patience, and restraint, and the alien presence had responded with recognition. The warship remained vigilant, its crew observing and responding carefully. Every pulse from the alien presence was analyzed, interpreted, and mirrored. Pilots maintained precise positions, engineers ensured system stability, and scientists refined signals for continued interaction. The captain reminded the crew that patience and discipline had brought them to this point, and that careful observation and measured responses were key to sustaining the dialogue. The alien presence hovered nearby, its pulses flowing in structured sequences, reflecting recognition and understanding. The crew realized that humanity had taken its first steps in interstellar communication. What had begun as observation and assessment had transformed into a cautious dialogue, a silent but meaningful exchange of intelligence. The captain allowed a moment of reflection, knowing that this encounter would be remembered as the moment humanity first engaged with an advanced extraterrestrial intelligence and had survived, learned, and responded with wisdom.